I purposely haven't cleaned my Surron for about 2 to 3 weeks now, and although it's not probably as dirty as it normally gets in winter, there's still a lot of grime and a lot of dirt on the bike that we need to get off in today's video. I've seen a lot of people post videos on how to wash the Surron online. There's different perspectives on it, what kit you should use, what kit you shouldn't use, how you should protect the bike while you're doing it. So this is my take on how to properly clean a Surron. At the end there's going to be a few tips on how to maintain the bike and make the components on the bike last as long as possible and not wear down from too much washing. Let's get into the video. So for a start, I want to take a look at some of the kit we're going to be using. Most of the range is from MUC-OFF, seeing as they are a bike cleaning brand and the products seem to work really well on the bike. The first thing I like to use is the fast action bike cleaner. Seems to work really well on the Surron at breaking a lot of that dirt loose. I've also got a bigger tub just for refills. Next, you're going to need a can of chain cleaner. It's really important that you keep your chain clean. I like to have a can of bike protect for the aftercare of the bike. Just helps lubricate the bike a bit more and stops a lot of the dirt sticking to the bike after it's been cleaned and you're on your next ride. I've also got a can of MO-94, which helps to lubricate the bike after. Again, helps with dirt prevention. It reduces friction, it displaces water, and it frees metal parts, so it's great to use on the Surron. You've always got to have a bottle of chain lube for aftercare as well. Another good product to use at the end of the clean is silicone shine. It'll make the bike shine and it'll help some of those parts move really smoothly after cleaning. So as well as those products, I also use a very low powered pressure washer. Bit of a controversial one. A lot of people say you shouldn't use a pressure washer on a bike like this. I definitely see the point in not using a really powerful pressure washer, as you can penetrate water into bearings, into seals. You can end up getting water in a lot of places where you just don't want it on the Surron, and it can make a difference on how long some components will last on your bike. But like I said, I use a really low powered pressure washer and I've never seemed to have any problems with getting water in places that I shouldn't want it. As for other cleaning kit, I use a selection of different brushes with all different hardness of bristles, which help getting into some of those hard to reach places and help misplace a lot of the dirt that will get trapped on your Surron in places that you just can't get out with a sponge. Obviously you've got to have a sponge to give it a bit of a wipe down. I've got a scraper for if there's really stubborn dirt that are stuck to places that I can't get off. It just helps with getting a lot of the dry dirt off for a start. You've got to have some microfiber towels to wipe the bike down at the end of the clean and use a lot of the products towards the end of the bike with the aftercare. And then if you've got one of these, they're a really good useful bit of kit. It's a blower, helps blow a lot of the water out of the trap places that it might get trapped in on the Surron, and it'll help displace a lot of the water that might get stuck in bearings and seals and things like that. So the first thing to do that's really important is you've got to protect your connectors from getting too much wet in them. I like to remove the battery. I've seen a lot of people who don't remove the battery and they just leave it in just to take extra care. I remove the battery and then I like to cover up these connectors right here so they don't get water driven into them. So for this I like to get a rubber glove, cover over the connectors, wrap it round, and then you can't go wrong with getting an elastic band and wrapping it round. Doing this will just help keep those connectors protected and not drive any water into them. The last thing you want is to clean your Surron, go and put your battery back in and it won't start. The next thing I like to do is I like to get some cling film or some shrink wrap, whatever you decide you want to use. I like to put that over on the speedo so then no water can be driven into the screen or into my light switch, into the sport or eco mode or the horn. Just helps keep those electrical components protected a little bit further. Although it's not completely watertight and it's not completely water sealed, it will just help stop any problems with that in the future. So for a start, I'm going to be going ahead and covering the bike in some of the cleaner. I like to use my cleaner as a snow foam. I've got a really small snow foam bottle here, which is ideal for cleaning the bike, which came with the pressure washer. As long as you don't use too much of it and you don't drive into places on the bike like the motor, controller or any of the seals, you should be fine using snow foam. I've seen other people use a spray bottle instead of snow foam, and really it just does the same thing. All it's going to do is spread the cleaner all over the bike. I like to do this as one of the first steps on the bike before putting any water on the actual bike. Then you can let the cleaner soak in and break down a lot of the dirt and the grime that's already on the bike. So now the cleaner's been put on the bike, I like to just let that sit and dwell for a minute. It'll really break into some of the dust, the dirt and the grime, and it will help break that down before trying to get it off the bike. So now we can let that sink onto the bike for a few minutes. I like to go and pressure wash it all off, just getting rid of some of the big bits of dirt and grime off the bike for a start. Once I've pressure washed all the heavy dirt off the bike, I then like to go and snow foam it again, just to give us a lot more soap on the bike to work with for the contact wash. So now we've got loads more soap back on the bike, you're then going to want to get your kit and start agitating all of the dirt and the soap on the bike. So now we've been over the bike and we've agitated all of the dirt off. It's already looking so much better. I like to go ahead and just give it a rinse down, get some of the soap and the extra dirt that's left on the bike, just give it a rinse down and get all of that off. Now we've rinsed most of the bike off, we've got one more important thing that we really need to clean before we get onto the aftercare of the bike, and that is going to be the chain. So for cleaning the chain, we have got some MUC-OFF chain cleaner. This will just break down a lot of the heavy grit and a lot of the heavy dirt that is on the chain, which you could probably see on my chain is absolutely disgusting. It's not been washed in so long. A lot of that chain lube I've used has stuck all the grime and the dirt to it, so we need to get that off as best as we possibly can. So as well as the chain cleaner, I like to use these two brushes. This brush is great for getting up in between the chain and giving it a good scrub and gets all around it, and this little brush has just got harder bristles, which is going to get some of the heavier dirt and some of the dirt that's more stuck on there off with the chain cleaner as well. With the chain cleaner, I like to try and keep it away from the sprocket, so I like to spray it on the chain around this area, and you're going to want to go all the way around the chain, making sure you don't miss anywhere. It's really important that you keep your chain properly clean, unlike mine right now. Typically of the UK, it started hammering down with rain halfway through when I was cleaning the chain. I did manage to get the chain completely cleaned off, got the bike rinsed off again, and then dried up and put back in the shed, so we are going to have to recreate drying off the bike. The only step to do after actually cleaning down the chain was just rinse it off, get all the muck and the grime off, and then wipe it down with the cloth so it's looking as clean and as good as possible. As for drying the bike, which would have been the next stage in the video, you just want to get your blower and blow all around the bike, pushing out any of the water that may have got trapped in places in the bike, and then you're going to want to go over it all with a microfiber towel. So once the bike is all dried off and you're happy that you've got all of the water out of all the cracks and the crevices on the bike, the next thing I like to do is add a bit of bike protect and add a bit of silicone shine to places where applicable. So the silicone shine you're going to want to add to places like the forks and the rear shock where there's metal on metal that will be moving together, and the bike protect is great for places like underneath the mudguards and just all over the bike to give it a good shine. So now with the bike all looking freshed up, dried off, protected, silicone shined, everything is now done to it. The battery's been washed and has been put back in. The two most important steps that I think are the very end of the clean, and that is lubing the chain again so it's running as smooth as possible. You need to keep that chain lubed up for a nice smooth ride. And then I've got some white lithium grease by WD-40. I like to go into the jack shaft and spray this into the bearings just to keep the bearings greased up. Just by spraying a load of water in there, you might have pushed a lot of the grease out, so it's good to keep them lubed up. I see a lot of people having problems with the jack shaft where the bearings start to go. They start to sound really crackly and start creaking, and the bearings just sound really uncared for. This white lithium grease is the answer. My bearings were sounding awful at one point and I didn't know why. As soon as I sprayed a bit of this on it and let it sat just for an hour or two after drying the bike, it made the world of difference. The Surron ran literally like brand new again. It felt like it was brand new out the box. I really recommend using the white lithium grease. When putting the chain lube on, you want to stay away from the rotor at the back. The same with when you're putting the bike protect and the silicone shine on, because you don't want to contaminate that rotor. Always keep a cloth handy to wipe up the excess after. The best thing you can do is turn the bike on, give it a little bit of throttle and start to spray the lube in there. You don't want too much, but you also don't want too little. Once you've let the lube sit on the chain for a minute or two, you can get your cloth and just wipe off any excess from the bottom. Then next, with the white lithium grease, I like to spray it just in here where there's the jack shaft bearing for the sprocket side, and then we go around the other side and do the same for the belt side. Again, always keep a rag handy to wipe up the excess after. Again, I like to start spinning the sprocket a bit, give it a quick blast in there. Then give it a few spins after, just to make sure that it's spread around, and then I like to get a cloth and just wipe up any of the excess that might have seeped around, and then go around the chain again just to get the rest of the grease off of the chain. And then I like to come around the other side and repeat the same process for the belt pulley side, again just keeping them bearings running smooth. And then the same again, get your rag and wipe off all of that excess that's in there, spinning the wheel every so often so you can get in there and get all of that excess off. You don't want to clean your bike and then leave a load of mess on it straight after. And then the best thing you can do is leave your bike for an hour or so just to let that grease and all the chain lube sit up in there and dry off.